starting us. Yeah. We ready? Well, thank you all for coming here. As you can see, we're in El Paso, a great city in Texas, with the border wall behind us. And the Attorney General from Missouri, Schmitt, who's a good friend of mine, has come down to announce with us, and I'm going to let him say his own words, that we will be filing a lawsuit against the Biden administration as it relates to building this wall and the fact that Congress appropriated large sums of money and directed that that money be spent on the wall. Our lawsuit is about forcing that expenditure to be spent the way Congress intended. And the reason we care so much about this is it is having tremendously negative effects on our states. I'll let Eric tell you what it's doing in Missouri, but obviously tremendous social costs, much higher crime. We've got the cartels on our border who are human trafficking and funneling people through here. As you know, these people don't get here for free. They have to pay the cartels. And as a result, Border Patrol and many of our law enforcement are busy dealing with a lot of people, record numbers of people. I think the numbers are up over 300% from just a year ago under the Trump administration. And that is forcing Border Patrol to spend a lot more time on more logistics as opposed to stopping the importation of drugs like fentanyl, which is killing people and will kill people all over the country. And so it is having tremendous social costs, but it also has tremendous economic costs for my state and for Missouri. And so we're having to spend a lot of money on healthcare, on law enforcement, on other types of programs for people that are coming to our state that we were not anticipating, and obviously we're not getting help from the federal government. And we're also having to spend a lot of money on border security. As you know, the legislature appropriated, I think it was $1.8 billion, much of it for building a wall. And so we're just here to say that we are very discouraged by the lack of care by the president, the fact that he has done almost everything he can do to make it more difficult for our border towns and for our border states and even for the entire United States, as we've watched our immigration problem become a massive problem. And I would say it's the direct results of policies that they knew would do exactly what they're doing. And so I just want to finish my comments, and then I'll let Eric say what he's going to say, and just say to the President of the United States, you know, let's go, Brandon. We'll see you in court.
I mean, as always, it's very difficult to follow Ken Paxton. So, cosign. It's great to be here in Texas with my friend Ken Paxton, and this is the duo that brought you the Remain in Mexico lawsuit, by the way, that we took all the way to the United States Supreme Court and won, by the way, in a 6-3 decision. And so we're partnering again for this really important issue. I don't need to tell you down here the challenges that we're facing as a country. We've got, literally hundreds of thousands of people coming across the border, and it's estimated 400,000 in October. 1.7 million have come across that we know of since January. And this is all laid at the feet of Joe Biden. And one of the main reasons why we have this unprecedented surge in illegal immigration is the failure for him to build the wall that President Trump led on, that Congress appropriated money for. And I just had an opportunity to tour the southern border here with some Border Patrol agents, the brave men and women of the Border Patrol who do important, dangerous work. And, it was eye-opening for me to see the rusting materials sitting on the ground that could very easily be put up to secure our border, all for politics by Joe Biden. I mean, he came in on day one and canceled those. He didn't cancel the contracts. We've paid for them. The work's just not being done. And when you think about the human toll, the men and women, the children who are being taken advantage of by the cartels, this is a serious humanitarian crisis. It's a national security crisis, and we've got to do something about it. And if Joe Biden's not going to do something about it, we're going to do it, and we're going to force him to do it. And let me tell you, as the Attorney General of Missouri, we've focused on human trafficking, human smuggling, human trafficking in Missouri. We've seen an uptick in that. And that's exactly what's happening here at the southern border. In fact, the Border Patrol agent that I was talking to, the networks that the cartels have, they extend to Kansas City. I mean, I didn't prompt him. He was mentioned Kansas City by name. That when they're bringing people over and taking advantage of people, That's exactly where they're headed, to places like Missouri. So all of the states are border states now, not just Texas and New Mexico and Arizona. All the states are border states because of this unprecedented surge of illegal immigration that we have to stop. And we need to finish President Trump's wall. That's what we need to do. And one thing I think that's worth noting too, parts of the wall here started after 9/11. Right? And it's been a hodgepodge. And we have the ability, with the $3.8 billion that sits there right now, unspent, to finish the wall. And not just the 18-foot wall, but the 30-foot wall. And it's a big deterrent. It would help stop this crisis that we see. So what is this lawsuit all about? There's essentially two big buckets here. One are the more procedural claims, right? That they violated the Administrative Procedures Act, that this decision was arbitrary and capricious to not move forward with the wall. And we make a lot of claims there. They didn't consider all of the things that are happening now. Now, I would argue, Kim would argue, that this is all on purpose. That you've got a president who really believes in open borders and amnesty. But the human cost, right? The cost to our states is dramatic. And we're here to tell Joe Biden right now, if you are not going to do your job, we're going to make you do your job. In this system of federalism, it's very important. And so the states are going to step into that gap and provide leadership. The second bucket here in the lawsuit are constitutional claims, essentially that this violates the separation of powers. Congress did what they were supposed to do to appropriate the money. The president has no authority to not spend that money now. And in fact, the take care clause, where he swears an oath on that Bible to faithfully execute the laws of the United States, he's not doing that. And that's what this lawsuit is all about, to get him to actually execute the law, spend the money that was appropriated. By the way, there's contractors that can do this work. We're standing here, right here, I learned that this was a group of folks on this part of the wall that proved that you could do that part of the wall in 9 days. Those are private folks. But this is, the federal government is supposed to be a government of limited powers, right? The states came together to decide what powers they were going to have. One of those limited powers was to secure the border. That's not what's happening. The people of this country deserve better. The people of Texas deserve better. The people of Missouri deserve better. And that's why we say to Joe Biden, we'll see you in court. Thank you very much.
So let me just say, Eric Schmitt, great Attorney General from Missouri, is actually below average height. So we're open to questions. Please keep them confined to the topic today. We can answer other questions later, and we're both available, or anybody else.
So what do you think about the record numbers of illegal immigration this year? 1.74 here on the southwestern border, almost 2 million if you take into account Canada as well.
We'll kind of switch off here as best we can. I'll just say that I don't think this is a surprise to the Biden administration. The policies of Obama are very similar, and they were, as you watch the Trump administration deal with those policies and change them to policies that lowered the number of illegal immigrants significantly. When the Biden administration came in, they completely went back to the old policies and actually accelerated those. And I think they knew exactly the results they were going to get. And so I don't think this is a crisis. When we talk about being a crisis, it is a crisis, but it's a man-made crisis. It's a crisis that was invited, that I think is purposeful. And the numbers of illegal immigrants this next year could be over 2 million people, record numbers. They're already record numbers. And if we continue these policies, the consequences of this are going to be devastating for years and years and years and years. And we're going to lose people from COVID, because they are letting people go all over the country with COVID without vaccinating them, without testing them. And they claim, as they try to force people to lose their jobs all over the country who are U.S. citizens, and then they're going to let illegals travel all over the country and not let us know where they are and what types of COVID they have. And that just the incredible risk to our children as fentanyl is being produced by the Chinese, brought to the cartels, and then transmitted all over the country. Next question.
What's your message for Attorney General Merrick Garland, who early on Capitol Hill had no words when it came to ask, why haven't you prosecuted any of these people that have broken the law? He was a loss for words. What's your response to that?
It's time to enforce the law. And I will tell you that what we see happening at the border here, as Ken mentioned, is a confluence of incompetence from the Biden administration. But it's more than that. It's intentional, right? It's intentional. And I think there's two big, there's a bunch of things we can do to fight this, and we're both working on this. But the Remain in Mexico lawsuit was significant in the sense that we are back to under Biden before the Supreme Court ruling, and now we'll have to go back to court to enforce that ruling, which is amazing that we actually have to, the states have to compel the President of the United States to actually enforce a law that the Supreme Court said is now the law of the land. Again, under President Trump, we saw the Remain in Mexico policy. Why is that important? Because that is the incentive for the cartels right now, because they know if they can get people across the border, they're just simply released into the interior of the United States. And with the Remain in Mexico policy, it takes that incentive away. So that's a big victory. Also, in talking to the Border Patrol agents, having a wall that's a big deterrent and prevents people from actually getting across easily is a big part of the solution as well. And when you hear them talk about schools, which are very close to this border, having to go on lockdown, okay, that is a public safety issue. And the Attorney General of the United States should be more focused on that than going after parents who are showing up to school board meetings who care about their kids. People have had enough of this. They want their country back. America wants its country back. And that's why we're here today.
Well, first of all, let me say, great question, and let me thank our DPS officers who are down here doing an amazing job. And the legislature has put a lot of money into this, and we have a lot of state police down here trying to help Border Patrol, trying to help Customs and Immigration with their jobs. But in some ways, we are limited by a case that you may or not be familiar with, U.S. v. Arizona, where the Supreme Court limited what states can do. And I don't know that they decided that case right. I don't think they did, but it puts us in a tough spot. But we're doing everything we can. Like I said, our legislature has put $1.8 billion towards border enforcement. We have the National Guard down here, and we're doing everything. I've talked to border agents numerous times. They want to do their job, but they're instructed not. These are my sisters and brothers from Texas. They're from El Paso. They love this state. They love this country, and they're here to stand with us to say, Mr. President, please protect us from the harm that you're allowing right now.
We'll take 2 more questions. Okay.
Why did you choose to come announce this here in El Paso rather than in the Rio Grande Valley, Del Rio, where there have been much bigger surges?
So one is I love El Paso. Second, this is along the border too. I've been in. I was in Del Rio 2 weeks ago. I was in the valley a couple months ago. I was in Laredo before that. So I've tried to move around to try to get a feel across the border what it's like. And so, you know, as I said, El Paso is a great city. I love coming here, but it's also a place that I hadn't been to as recently, and I wanted to come back and talk to the people here, and they've been nothing but amazing.
General Paxton, of the 27 Republican governors in the United States, how many do you think are willing to stand up and proclaim that Trump did win the 2020 election? We have the ample evidence is there, and we're sick of the overthrow. This has been an overthrow, and we expect actually all of you to stand up and proclaim this. With 50 Republican senators, or at least maybe 40 of them. Okay, it's time to do that. Take the bull by the horn. We won. We know that. This is an overthrow. It's your job.
Let me just say that I agree with you. There's no two AGs that have done more on elections stuff. If you go look at what's happened,
right.
But I want to keep it to border, and we can address other issues.
I understand.
Last question, border related, right there in the purple. Go ahead. And let's give him another chance.
Yes, sir. Here in El Paso, we've got a record number of stash houses. These are places that are used by criminal organizations to stash migrants. My question to you is, what is being done statewide to assist in the locating and the dismantling of these stash houses for migrants?
So I was going to give you the last question.
Go, no, it's for you.
So, stash houses are clearly a problem, and one of the things that I've learned from talking to border agents and from talking to state police is that there are a lot of now U.S. citizens who are involved in the smuggling and involved in the process of moving people around and moving drugs around. And so it's becoming a network, which I'm not surprised that has been set up and being set up in a much broader scale, not just in Texas but all over the country, because now there's a lot of money. If you just think about the people that we know about crossing the border, over say 220,000